Rabin, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes. Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir. Nice to see you after so long.
Yes. It's good to see that you got back to all safe and sound.
Yes, sir. Of course. I'm safe now. How are you, sir? There.
Very good. Very good. How are you? Are you good? You okay?
Yeah. How is life going on over there?
Yeah, it's okay. It's our hotel's a little bit quiet at the moment due to the virus, but we're still open for business, so yeah, everything's going fairly well. 63 people.
That's great, sir. Welcome to Nepal, virtual Nepal.
Thank you. I wish I was there in person.
Yeah. We hope to see you soon after the normal situation.
Yes, well, I'd certainly love to. I'd certainly love to come over.
So you already started the hotel over China, Hangzhou?
Uh, yes, we've started that. That hotel's under construction.
Uh-huh.
So I'm working on that project and another in Dubai and one in Bangkok as well. And then running my region in Australia.
So we'll be starting in few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. Let's.
Are there any opportunity at the moment?
So you are muted. I don't.
Yeah, I was just muting until we started, that's all.
Oh, okay. You're still at the hotel, sir, or at your home?
Yeah, no, I'm at the hotel. I actually live in this hotel. I live at the hotel. So, yeah, I'm at work every day.
So shall we start, sir? Shall we go?
Okay, let's start.
Yeah. So namaste and good afternoon, everyone. So today we are here in our 7th webinar from Balkumari College. So on behalf of Balkumari College, I would like to welcome each and every participants, every respected teachers, my colleagues, and all the students of Balkumari College, as well as other participants from all around the world. I see someone from Bangladesh also. So welcome everyone. So without any delay, I would like to start today's webinar. So basically we'll be focusing on international chain hotels. So on behalf of Balkumari College, I have invited Mr. Anthony Phillips, sir, who is the general manager of Park Regis Hotel. So welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
So without further delay, I would like to introduce today's speaker, key speaker, Mr. Anthony Phillips. Anthony Phillips, sir, is a general manager. Currently, he's working as general manager in Park Regis Hotel of Australia. He started his hotel career in 1994-80 from Hyatt Hotel as an in-room dining staff. He worked over there for 3 years and 11 months, and then he worked in Starwood Hotels and Resort from 1998 to 2002, and then he upgraded his work from to Radisson as a food and beverage manager and banquet manager from 2002 to 2006, and then he joined Shangri-La Hotels and Resort from 2007 to 2009 as a director of service food and beverage service, and then he worked as a general manager of Park Regis Hotel as well as area manager of Victoria, Tasmania, and he also deals with the new hotel project of Star Well Holding Projects. So welcome to you, sir, in our webinar as a key speaker. So talking about the Starwood Hotels, Starwood Hotel is the largest hotel management group in Asia Pacific, and its parent company Prince Hotel Inc. offers a diverse portfolio of properties across a combined network of 137 open and underdeveloped hotels worldwide. Prince Hotel and Resorts and Staywell's combined brand offering include the Prince uh, Akatoki, the Prince Grand Prince Hotel, Policy, Park Regis, Prince Hotel, Leisure Inn, plus Prince Smart Inn and Leisure Inn. Each brand offers guest quality experience ranging from luxury to lifestyle, though to mid-scale. The Staywell Holdings has lots of hotels like in UK, in Middle East, India, in all over Asia, in China, and of course in Australia. So today we'll be talking about his international chain hotels and his um, experience. So today's webinar will be divided into two sessions. First sessions will be between moderator, that's me, and key speaker, that's him, Mr. Anthony, sir. And the next session will be between the participants and the key speaker. So any participants who had some queries, he or she can unmute themselves and ask the key speaker to clear their doubts or they want to learn something. So let's start our first session. So shall we go, sir, for the first session?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you again for accepting our invitations. So without further delay, I would like to start the first session. So we already introduced him and we know that he is in this hotel industry from like almost 3 decades. So it's already about up to 3 decades. So now we know the youths, they are more into the hotel industry or hospitality industry. They want to go over there, but before 3 decades the situation was a bit different. So what had inspired you to be in this hotel industry? What are your experience from the beginning till today date?
Okay, so I started in hotels in 1994. I was 21 years old, and when I was growing up in my family used to take us on holidays to stay in a hotel for 3 weeks a year. And I was always excited and amazed by the way the hotels looked. It was so full of luxury and there was so much service. So at a very young age, before I could work, I actually fell in love with hotels. And I decided that once I graduated from high school that I would make my career in hotels. And at that time I lived in Sydney, Australia, and I applied for the 5 top hotels in Sydney, one of which was the Park Hyatt Sydney, and it's on Sydney Harbour. And back then the Park Hyatt was voted the #1 hotel in Australia. And I applied for that hotel as in-room dining. And I actually started in that hotel in in-room dining. And it was all about the excitement of a hotel, about looking after the guests, meeting new guests coming and going every single day. And I was also quite excited about how the hotel works, because there are so many different departments which have to come together every single day to make a department work, to make the hotel work. And every single department has to work well. If one department doesn't fire or doesn't work, then that impacts the whole hotel. So that's what excited me about starting with Park Hyatt Sydney. And when I was at Park Hyatt, I started off as in-room dining. I was a hotel butler. I moved across to concierge and front desk. After that, I went and worked for Starwood in the Sheraton Hotel Group, with the Sheraton Hotel Group in Queensland and in Sydney. And during that time, I was in-room dining manager, restaurants manager, a butler as well, and in charge of minibar. I then went off to Europe for 12 months and holidayed in Europe and travelled. And when I come back around 2001, I went to work for Accor as a banquet and conventions manager. I've spent time working with Radisson as a food and beverage manager and a convention services manager. I've also worked in front desk. I've worked in housekeeping as well. And I spent quite a bit of time at Radisson, and then I moved on to Shangri-La as director of food and beverage for Shangri-La. And I worked in Fiji, which is in the South Pacific. I worked some time in Hong Kong and in Pudong in Shanghai in China as well. And that brings me to my current role with Staywell and Prince Hotels. In Staywell Hotels, we have 11 hotels in Australia. We have about 30 hotels under the Prince brand worldwide. And Prince is the largest publicly owned hotel company in Japan. They own the bullet train system, hotels in Japan and Hawaii, along with golf courses and entertainment as well. And my current role, I'm general manager of a couple of hotels. I'm area manager for the states of Victoria and Tasmania in Australia. And I'm also the project manager for the company. So I oversee new hotel projects and food and beverage development, of which I'm currently working on a new product in Dubai, in Guangzhou in China, and working on another product in Bangkok in Thailand. And I've also spent some time recently in Indonesia working on new projects as well.
Thank you, sir. So like yours, my also inspirations is the hospitality industry, the services they are giving. And as you also mentioned, you are working in the project of Guangzhou. So I would like to inform every participant over here. I also met him over Guangzhou. He was staying over our hotel where I was doing internship. And as he was also working as an in-room dining, I was also doing my internship over there as an in-room dining assistant. So I had a chance to do service to him. So as for the further question, as you are general manager of couple of hotels. So as a general manager, you have to look after lots of departments over all the departments in the hotel. But which department you normally focused on and why?
Well, my pedigree in hotels is primarily food and beverage. So my strength coming through the ranks has always been within food and beverage. I like food and beverage because food and beverage is so diverse. It includes everything from the stewarding department right through to kitchens, front of house, stores, minibar, and you've got a whole variety of outlets too. You have everything from fine dining to all-day dining. There's bars, the lobby bar, nightclubs, mini bar as well. So food and beverage is very big. It's very diverse. There's lots of different aspects to food and beverage, and I think that's what makes food and beverage so important in hotels today. So that's why I have branched out into other areas of food and of the hotel, but I've always come back to food and beverage.
Thank you, sir. My one of the core interests is also food and beverage, but first I'm looking for a human resource department. So let's go into the next question. As in the introduction round, we already introduced you as area manager of a reputed international chain hotel. So as a area manager of a reputed international chain hotel, how much difficulty you find in the hotels, in other hotels all around the world to maintain your standard of services all around the world?
I think standards in hotels are changing over the years, and now it is extremely competitive. Years and years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't so competitive. Like 20 years ago, you always had the big brands, and they were always the big brands, whereas nowadays you have a lot of new hotel chains starting. There's a lot of competition, and what that means is that hotel operators have to constantly innovate and develop and refurbish their products. So if a hotel isn't doing a refurbishment every 2 to 3 years and staying ahead of trends and development and new ideas, then it will fall out of favor with the guests. And when a hotel falls out of favor, it becomes very old and dated. And when you have so many other new hotels coming on the market, the more hotels that come on the market, the more choice there is for guests. So if you want to stay in the market, you have to make sure that your product is always up there, it is current, it is trendy, and it is exactly what the guests want. And from a general manager's point of view, that can also mean making sure that you're providing all your staff with the right tools to do the job and the right product to be proud of. Because at the end of the day, what makes a hotel is the staff. It's not the product. You can have the nicest hotel in the world, but if the staff isn't there, if the passion isn't there, if the drive isn't there, it doesn't matter how good the hotel looks, the hotel will fail because of the service. So I suppose it's easy to refurbish a hotel. It's easy to spend money on a hotel and make it all new and trendy and luxurious. But at the end of the day, the key to a hotel is the staff and how you invest in the staff and the training and the development of the staff.
Of course, the staff are the key for the services and everything that attracts the guest. So let's talk about the present situation, the pandemic situation, COVID-19. So as you have been in this industry since so many decades, since 3 decades, so I guess you have faced other crises before too. So in Nepal, I guess we have also been facing some crisis before, but we were not that much prepared. But a developed country like yours, Australia, I guess before also they faced some crisis and they were prepared for something. So how your hotel is maintaining a good relationship with their staff, how the hotel is looking after their staff in these pandemic situations? Was there any plan before which will be implemented in these kind of crisis?
To be honest, worldwide, I don't think there was any plan, and I don't believe any hotel was prepared for what we're going through now. Hotels have preparation plans for fire, for flood, for political or election unrest. We have plans for closure, but I don't think anyone in the world has had to develop a plan before for what we have seen globally at the moment. In Australia, we're lucky because a lot of hotels are still open. Some hotels have been requisitioned by the government to help treat people who have tested positive for the virus. In terms of our company, we have 11 hotels in Australia and only one is closed at the moment. So 10 hotels have been able to stay open. Now in Australia, we're actually very lucky. We continue to pay all of our staff. They're all employed. All our full-time staff, our managers and our part-time staff are all employed and all still work. Our casual staff, where we can, they still work, but our casual staff also receive a government benefit each week. So the hotel pays so much of a casual person's wage and then the rest is topped up by the government. So we're lucky that no staff have been let go. Everyone is still being paid. And in other hotel chains in Australia, where they have had to let go staff, they have made a promise to rehire the staff when things get better. Okay. So in terms of looking after the staff are being very well looked after. A lot of hotels, like all hotels around the world, we've had to come up with plans and policies very, very quickly because we've had to manage the wind down or the scale back of our hotel. And then we've had to manage the re-entry or the relaunch of the hotel as well. Now, like most countries around the world, with hotels relaunching and reopening, they all have new cleaning and sanitation measures that we have to put in place. So in food and beverage in particular, now we do contactless ordering. So a guest doesn't look at the menu anymore. They now order via an app on their phone. We have hand sanitizer everywhere. The hotel performs temperature checks on all their guests and has them sign a health declaration. So hotels in Australia have had to meet a lot of health department and government requirements to be able to maintain opening and to be able to continue opening. And at the moment, like most GMs will tell you, every day is a brand new day. And every day there is something popping up that you have to address and that is something different. So I think a GM's main focus at this point in time is to make sure they keep their hotel going and to make sure that they're looking after their staff and they're preparing as best they can.
Of course, every GMs and every hotel industry, they should look after their staffs because in this critical situation, they might think the staffs might be burden for them, but in the normal situation, they will be needing them back again. So I hope every hotel will be looking after their staffs like yours doing. So what is the difference you always find in the hotel industry in Australia and the rest of the world? Like you already visited Indonesia, India, China, and other parts of Asia and other countries. So what particular difference, what main difference do you find in between Australia tourism or hospitality industry and other countries?
I think 4- and 5-star hotels in Australia is a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more relaxed because of the Australian way of life and the Australian attitude. We are a little bit more relaxed in our service. When you go to places like Europe, you will find, and particularly in Asia, you will find that the service and the product is a lot more refined. And a lot of times, staff around the world, the service levels are dictated by wages. In Australia, wages are a very big cost in hotels. So whilst we do meet a 5-star standard, quite often we don't have the service levels that are necessarily there. Whereas when you go to Asia, labor costs are relatively cheaper. So for a hotel operator, you will have lots and lots and lots of staff. So you find that the service is a lot more. But the big thing that I like about Asia in particular, and this, Indonesia, parts of China, the Philippines, even in Dubai, is that people from those countries, the service of hospitality is something that comes naturally within them. It's like you can't train it. Like when I was in Guangzhou, the people who served me in Guangzhou or Jakarta or Bangkok or Dubai, the service it's so warm, it's very natural. There's a lot of pride in how people work. It's just something, it's like just natural hospitality which shines through. And that in a person is pure gold because you can't train that. You can't train someone to give a natural smile. You can't train someone warmth or integrity or honesty or genuine devotion or ownership. You can't train that. That is to do with their upbringing, their way of life, their parents and their family. And that's why Asian hospitality throughout Asia and India and the Middle East is so much different to Australia because of what you project that just naturally comes through. We have a lot to learn from Asian hospitality in Australia, and we've still got a little way to go.
You will be feeling more warm hospitality if you come ever in Nepal. So we have different warmness over here. So I hope you will be here soon. So basically, what I know is international chain hotels receives or takes some amounts of money from their all around the branches hotels all around the world. So they have been taking some charge of money every year. So what now in this pandemic situation, there is almost no business all around the world. Like 95 or 98% countries are almost down, and the most affected is tourism and hotel industry. So now what is your chain hotel or what are other chain hotels doing to make their chain hotels realize that don't worry, it will be fine, or how they are compensating or how they are making them feel good?
All hotels around the world are currently at the stage where they are trying to implement new policies and procedures, implement new hygiene and sanitation measures. And all hotels around the world are currently trying to relaunch and market their product. And what I mean by marketing is that hotels are trying to market that their hotel is now safe to come and visit, that when hotels open again, everything will be fine, everything will be safe. Their product is a good product. They can trust their product. They can trust the brand. Every hotel around the world is currently relaunching, rebranding, and trying to convey that purpose of warmth and readiness so we can try and secure the business. Because let's face it, when people start to travel, they are going to be very nervous. They're going to be very selective about the hotels that they go to. And when they go to hotels, they are going to be looking to see that that hotel is implying and putting in all the measures of COVID-19 that they can do. They're looking to see that the hotels are practicing good hygiene and sanitation. So that's what hotels are doing at the moment. Everyone's planning, everyone's preparing, and then everyone's marketing that their hotel is safe, comfortable, and ready to go.
Yes, of course. So new plans and policies are coming all around the world, right?
Yeah, everyone's having to adjust their product. Everyone's having to adjust their service, and everyone's, housekeeping. We're totally redeveloping the standards of cleaning and housekeeping. Public areas, we've completely redeveloped how we do public areas, food and beverage in terms of ordering, suppliers, service at the table, the way we serve drinks and prepare meals, kitchen operations. A lot of hotels now don't have minibar. Globally, there's a push for hotels not to have buffet restaurants anymore. So everyone's trying to tweak the concept of a buffet restaurant to develop something different. So all these things are going on in hotels. You know, administration-wise, HR departments are trying to work how to look after their staff as best they can, how to keep people employed, how to keep people getting a wage, and when do we reactivate and start hiring more people.
So I also see the same situation like where I was doing my internship in Garden Hotel. They were also doing some kind of adjustment in the restaurants area and other administrative parts. So let's come to another question. So at the end of the day, sales is the strong aspect to determine whether the business has gone effectively or not. So as a general manager, how do you manage the operation in order to make the sales of the hotel high?
You have to make sure that you're out in the market in terms of your OTAs, all your websites and your room inventory is live and up and running. As a GM, you have to be able to respond to the market very, very quickly. Some hotels have very short lead time bookings, so you have to be very on board and proactive, and some hotels have longer lead time. You have to plan and prepare for special events, special seasons. In Australia, we're going into winter at the moment, so for many areas of Australia, this is traditionally a low season. You have to make sure that you're looking after all market segments, so government, corporate, inbound market. You know, a lot of the Chinese inbound isn't traveling anymore to a lot of countries. So do we just sit back and do nothing, or do we try and develop another market to see if we can try and replace that business? We have to be able to respond to current situations. So, for example, in this hotel, we now offer long stay business for long stay corporate guests who stay with us sometimes 3, 4, 6 months. You have to be mindful of the fact of how people are booking hotels these days. Years and years ago, people used to book directly with the hotel and they'd ring up the hotel and book. And we used to send a fax because we never had internet. So it was all faxes and travel agents. Now, in 2020, people are going online. People are going through booking sites that charge commissions. Millennials doing it through apps on their phone. So we have to all be as GMs, we have to make sure that we stay up to date and current with all that sort of stuff. We have to make sure that we're embracing it all. So as things change in the market, we have to make sure that as GMs and the culture and the product is changing as well.
Yeah, so I guess the world will be going on the technical part more in the coming days, like you said. So,
yes.
So like today's, we have more participants from the hotel management background, the students from the hotel management, the students like me who just completed the internship in the hotel industry, or the people who had just stepped in the hotel industry, who had just put their feet on the hotel industry. So as a general manager, as an experienced person who has experience of 3 decades, so what would you like to suggest? What are your key suggestions for the people like us to be as successful as you are?
Well, you should be more successful than me. My advice is, my advice would be, make sure that you stay or you try and get a job in the big brand and the big chain hotels. Chains like Accor, Shangri-La, Radisson, Hyatt, Hilton, Kempinski, Fairmont, you know, all those really, really big brand hotels. Because when you get jobs in big brand hotels, you get a lot of big, diverse experience. And whether we like it or not, and I'm kind of ashamed to say this, there are a lot of bad operators in our industry. There are a lot of Not all, right? But a lot of individual pop-up hotels and family-run hotels that often do not look after the staff. Whereas you find that you do have a good product and people look after the staff in the big brand hotels. When you have big brands on your resume, it does take you places, it does open doors, and it does open opportunities worldwide. And to a lot of people in Asia, even in Nepal, big brands and overseas opportunities are really, really super important. So, and you need to, when you're coming up through the ranks, you need to do the hard yards. Like becoming a GM is not like you don't just do a course and suddenly you're a GM. To be a good GM, you have to have experience in a lot of departments. And when you get to be a GM, don't ever forget what it was like when you were coming up through the ranks. When I was a waiter in banquets, when I was a waiter in room service, minibar, I remember every boss I had, I remember the way they treated me. And I remember at the time when they treated me well, I thought if ever I get to the top, I'm going to treat my staff like that as well. And if there was times when I wasn't treated well, I always thought when I get to the top, I'm never ever going to be like that, because that's not the way you treat people. So then when you get to the top, remember all those lessons that you've learned, because you know, you impact on so many people's lives. Okay. And you know what, being a GM, it's not about the destination. A lot of GMs focus on the bottom line and just getting the bottom line, making sure that you get that, you hit budget. But at the end of the day, it's about the journey, because if the journey's taken care of, it will take care of the result at the end of the day. Your staff are so important. You've got to look after your staff. If you look after the staff, they will look after the guests. If the guests are looked after, then the financials of the hotel are looked after, because the guests are going to keep going back. And so it's just always important to make sure, just never forget the lessons when you're going through the ranks, and always make sure that, you know, you have a high level of honesty and integrity, and make sure you know what's important in your business, and make sure that you invest the time and the energy in that, you know, because everybody's important at all sorts of different levels. And, you know, my job has taken me around the world more than once. Before the virus, I was traveling 3 weeks in every month overseas. I've butlered for rock stars and movie stars. I've met President Bill Clinton. I butlered for him, members of the royal family in the Middle East. I've worked in all sorts of hotels, but I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you this to impress upon you that with a bit of hard work and a lot of dedication, you can really go a lot of places. But just always make sure that you remember those lessons along the way, because that is what will mold and develop you as a manager and as a general manager. And you know what? Always, there should be no pecking order in hotels. Housekeeping is not the lowest department in a hotel. Stewarding is not the lowest department in food and beverage. In fact, they're probably the most important people in the hotel. So everybody should be treated equally. And, you know, sometimes as managers, we forget the impact that we have on people. When I was in Indonesia, every morning, when I first started in this hotel, everyone used to have their department meetings at 10 o'clock every day. And what I said, no, I want housekeeping to be at 8 o'clock, food and beverage to be at 8:30, front desk to be at 9, and public areas to be at 9:30. And the reason why was because I could make time to go around and be in the morning meeting of every single department. Because, you know, to people that are new in the industry, having a GM sit in on their meeting and listen to them and listen to their concerns, that really motivates them and inspires them. And that's really really important. So yeah, just make sure you retain all the lessons you learn, and you know, look at those big brands, because big brands have big systems in place, big opportunities for training and development, big opportunities for promotion and transfer overseas, and big brands always look good on your resume.
Yes, sir, definitely. Big brands are like big brands. The brands are already big by their names, like your hotels. And of course, like you said, honesty, integrity, and the behavior you do in the business will be highly valuable in the future days to come. So, uh, at the present situation, the COVID-19, I have been asking this question to several our panelists. So, I guess in Australia it's the same conditions. So because and I guess Australia is a bit different because they has declared that there will be some tourism movements between Australia and New Zealand. They will be doing some tourism business. So, but lots of countries have just realized the importance of domestic tourists because until the international tourism will be flourishing out like before, like normal days, the domestic tourist will be the backbone to sustain the tourism industry and hotel industry. So what are your hotel plans to attract good domestic tourists in order to sustain your and other hotel industry?
Well, at the moment in Australia, there's no international travel in or out of Australia. So the only travel at the moment is domestic tourism. So where I am, it snows. It actually snows about an hour from here. So there's a lot of planning in trying to get domestic tourism to come to the capital cities, tours, the snow, school holidays. In the north, they focus on the beaches and the islands just off the coast of Australia. Everybody's focused on domestic tourism. The good thing is, and this is probably happening in Nepal as well, is that in Australia, everyone's been in lockdown for quite a long time. Hotels shut, restaurants shut, you can't go to the movies, you can't go to a club, can't go to a bar, you know. So everybody is at the point where they've just about had enough. So now that they're starting to lift restrictions, people are now starting to look at domestic tourism just to get away. People coming to Melbourne for the weekend or to come to Sydney. So all hotels are trying to nurture and develop our local domestic markets to try and get some business. Now look, will we get to 100%? No. Will it replace the business before the virus? No. But will it help the hotel? Yes. So there is a big focus on domestic tourism and just making sure we keep an eye on expenses. And we're lucky in Australia because our government has put out a lot of incentives to generate tourism and to help grow business as well. So we're lucky because the government is spending a lot of money in giving Australians benefits and cash to help them travel and paying less tax and all sorts of things like that. So that helps our industry as well. Now, behind the scenes, long term, all the hotels are planning for international market return. But it'll be very interesting to see what that is. I mean, Australia used to rely heavily on China, but our relationship with China isn't so good at the moment. So they're looking at other markets like Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Indonesia, New Zealand as well. So hotels are very much looking at other international markets as well.
Yeah, definitely, because everything should have an option, because if one thing doesn't work, we need to look after the next one. So you also mentioned like the countries like Australia will be having different options in the days to come, and having a person like you having experience of 3 decades, I guess you have been watching the evolution of tourism and hospitality industry of Australia very closely. So a country like Australia have developed the tourism industry so much greatly. Even though it's expensive destination, the people like to visit Australia once in a time. So what I'm going to say is Nepal being the cheapest destination, but having lots of natural beauties, having lots of highest mountains, having lots of lakes and rivers, and having the warmest hospitality in the world, but it's slowly starting developing the tourism industry and hotel industry. So as an experienced person, what would you like to suggest the people like us, the future hoteliers who are as today's participants? So what would you like to suggest to really develop the hospitality industry of Nepal, and what do you really see in Nepal, and what you like to focus to bring your chain hotel in Nepal?
In terms of Nepal, I think the big advantage that you have is you have natural advantages, right? I'll use the example of Dubai. In Dubai, everything is man-made. You have to create everything for it to be successful. But in Nepal, what you have is natural in terms of mountains, valleys, wilderness, views, the culture, and the people. So you already have the base ingredient for very successful tourism in Nepal. The only thing I would say is that in Nepal, people probably need to develop more in hospitality, in colleges, in training and schools, to develop more people in hospitality and hotels, because you really do have potentially a wonderful product in Nepal, and it really is an untapped resource. It's like a lot of countries around the world, they're kind of already flooded with hotels.
Yes.
Right? So you go to something like Bangkok, right? Too many hotels, too many rooms. It's flooded, absolutely flooded. You go to all the tourist destinations, they're flooded with people, over tourism, over commercialization. Whereas in Nepal, it's a bit of an untapped resource. So, and it's a very exciting time for young people at the moment, because you guys are the future of tourism and hotels in Nepal. And so you're really a part of that journey to grow and develop tourism and hotels in Nepal. So I suppose my biggest advice would always be, make sure that you're proud of the product, and make sure you're proud of your staff and the people and the culture. You know, I often say to my staff, because in Australia, we work 40 hours a week, right? We work 8 hours a day. And quite often, I spend more waking time looking at my managers than what I do my wife and children. Because when I get home from work, I have dinner and then they go to bed. And when they wake up in the morning, I've gone to work. So I spend more time with my managers and staff than what I do with my family. So what I say to them is that if we have to spend all this time together, then let's really make it count. Let's really put together and manage something that we can be really proud of. So, you know, I mean, Nepal's very, very exciting. Nepal has been on my bucket list to come and see. And I hope probably, maybe even in my next trip to Bangkok, which is coming up, I think in August or September, I'm happy to even take a trip across to Nepal. I would love to come to Nepal. I would love to support you guys more and as much as I could. And, you know, I'm more than happy to support your college as much as we can from here. And, you know, I'd like to think we could set up something even with each of you long term past this. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Our college, Balkumari College, also looking forward your help, because I also mentioned earlier in the chats and while we met in the Garden Hotel, like our college, like people you can really help us for the internship and other things. Like your guidance are most important for us. So we are at the end of the first session. So at the end of the first session, I would like to add one last question. Uh, what's your best moment of your journey in this hotel industry? That's the most striking thing that you always think of? That's the best.
I probably have quite a lot, because it is over 30 years. But my most recent best experience would have to be when I was in Indonesia, and we took over a hotel there that was run by another operator. And the hotel was quite run down. The staff were not looked after well. And in the 8 months that I was there, we were able to improve all aspects of the hotel, of staff morale, of staff engagement, training, human resources. And we were, in the 8 months, we were really able to turn around a very, very good product. And there was just so many lessons that I learned in that role that I never would have learned in Australia, that I only learned through working with people in Indonesia. And I've worked with there was a lot of Nepalese people actually in the hotel as well. And I think the biggest thing for me is the ability to change people's lives and invest in people over the years. Over my years, I've had people who have come into my hotel for a job interview, and it's been their first job, and they've had all the right ingredients. They just needed somebody to give them a chance.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been very happy that I could give some people that chance. And then later on, I look at them and they're even in positions now that are higher up than me. So it's great to give that the chance and see them go so far with their career. To see, I have to say, this webinar tonight would have to be one of my highlights as well.
Yes, sir, definitely. The people like you can see the talents in the youths, and if the people like you give the chance, then definitely they will grow up one day. So that's it. This is the end of the first session. So if you ask my best moment till this date, then my best moment is that I got to serve you in Garden Hotel, and I got to serve the people like His Highness of Malaysia, the King of Malaysia, and German football team, and so on. So the hospitality industry has definitely inspired me and attracted me. So it's the end of the first session. So we will like to move on the second session. So as today Rabin sir is not there, so he had said me to continue all the sessions till the end. So I would like to continue the second session. If any participants has any queries, then they can raise the hand and unmute themselves and ask the question to our key speaker, Mr. Anthony sir. So if anybody has questions, you can either drop the question in the chat box or you can raise your hands.
Hi, Mr. Anthony.
Hello, Sandeep.
Thank you for sharing your wonderful experience and knowledge about the hospitality industry that you've been working for your entire life. I just have two questions about the industry. The first one is quite personal, that I would like to ask is whenever I met to all the people working in the hospitality industry, when I have conversation with them, I always used to ask as one question, like, what makes you to work in hospitality industry? It's like, what makes you to, what motivates you and encourages you to work in hospitality industry when you wake up every day in the morning? What makes you? So that was my first question.
It's impact on other people's lives and to develop a product that you can truly be proud of. There's not many industries that touch and get so personal with people as what the hospitality industry does. You know, working in hotels, you know, people are sleeping in our hotels, they're eating, drinking, dining, entertaining. There's not many industries that actually provide that. So it's the excitement of having such a personal connection with our guests and also developing and being really proud of a product that you work in each day.
Thank you. And the second question is about my personal career. So currently I'm here in Sydney, pursuing my master's in hotel management. So in the future, in the near future, we will be doing placements over the industry. So what will be the future about the placement for the students that are pursuing their degree or in hospitality industry? As we can see, there is less chance of getting placements these days in industry. So what will be the future?
I think at the moment, in June and July, placements are going to be very, very limited because hotel operations are scaled back. A lot of hotels are closed. A lot of hotels are getting ready to open. But I think once we get to the point where countries get to the point where infection rates and people testing positive sort of gets normal, or once they find a vaccine, I think you will see a regrowth in hotels. You will see an expansion in our industry. And all these hotels that are closed and all the hotels that are running limited at the moment, at some point, they all have to open again. They all have to go back to full operations. And I think that will be a very good time for placements in the industry. And I think probably this is the time to work your connections too. If you have people that are connected fairly high up or in other brands, now's the time to work your connections to make sure that in the future that there is opportunity there for you. But being in Sydney, I think you're definitely well placed for opportunity in Australia as well.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. I got all my answers, and thank you for your time. Your precious time.
No problems. Thank you, Sindhu.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. So I would like to request our respected teacher, Mr. Sriram sir, to ask his queries.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Shiram.
I'm from Nepal, sir. It's a very privilege. It's a big privilege for me to hear you. Even we are in a long distance. This is the first time I'm getting to meet with you from this webinar. Thank you very much for coming in this show. This is a general question that happens in our country. Australia is a dreamland for a lot of youth who are living in our country. Once they complete their +2 or intermediate level successfully, they process to come in Australia, and they want to accomplish all their dream in Australia, and permanently they want to settle out there. And according to the data, I have come to know that out of total student, 78% of international students who come in Australia, they work in hospitality industry. So it means that the student who come in your country has a lot of opportunity in hospitality sector, but still there are many things to do for the youth before they go to Australia. So what is your message or any suggestion for the youth who wants to come in Australia, sir?
So in Nepal, to prepare to become into Australia, my advice would be to make sure you research about doing hotel and hospitality courses in Nepal, and that you do the preliminary work, which puts you in a good position to then be able to successfully apply. So again, if I was in Nepal starting off, I would be trying to look at courses through local colleges and international colleges that may prepare me or put me in a good position to move to something bigger. I would also look at the international chains and big brands in Nepal that I could maybe get traineeship with or employed with, because at some point you would be able to apply for to be able to go and work in other countries. Like, for example, if you worked for Hilton in Nepal, you would probably be opened up to opportunities of Hilton in Australia or Hilton in Asia or Hilton in America. Whereas if you go with a smaller brand or a family-run independent brand, you don't have those opportunities. So my advice is to look at college, look at courses, and to brands as well that you can help.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. That was my query that you have given the solution for that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Shivam.
Thank you, Sriram sir. So if anybody else has some queries, then they can ask, they can raise their hand or they can unmute themselves and ask.
Very quiet.
So I guess they are listening you so deeply, so they're speechless.
I mean, Rabin, you have my email address too. So, you know, I'm happy for you to give it to everybody that is on this call. And I'm happy to answer any questions later on if people think of things they want to email me or ask me, or they want some guidance or advice. I'm happy to provide that later on as well by email if need be.
Sure, sir, sure. I'll let them know your email address.
Yeah.
We provide the certificate of participation for today's webinar, so we will be attaching your email address on that email.
Well, I'm happy to help everyone that's on here. Please stay in touch, and if I can help you, more than happy to.
Thank you so much, sir. So if anybody is there to raise their question, then they're free to. I guess there are some questions.
There's some chat come through.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the questions is, as being a general manager, what would be the crucial elements that should be left in the hospitality industry to get success? I think the crucial elements are to be adaptable within yourself, within your style of management, and be able to adapt your product to the changes in the industry, to make sure that you understand that you wear many hats in a day. So my job every day is general manager. Sometimes I'm human resources, some days I'm the trainer, some days I'm the finance man, sometimes I'm helping in housekeeping, I'm the front desk person. So always be adaptable to, that's a crucial element, and always be there for your staff too. And, you know, believe in your staff and believe in your product as well. Another one is, how can we encourage ourselves to be in hospitality for a long time? I think it is, make sure that you get some big brand experience. Make sure that you go with a reputable brand that is internationally recognized, because it will open up doors. And when doors open for you, you're constantly challenged and you constantly grow within yourself. When I first started off 30 years ago, I never ever wanted to be a general manager. I always was happy to stay in food and beverage, but now 30 years down the track, I've been able to do many all jobs in a hotel. And the more I have done, the more it has opened up opportunities in other avenues. I'm only traveling overseas now and working on new projects and in big chains because of all the different things I've done, all the different departments I've worked in. So you have to keep yourself motivated. And I think the way to keep yourself motivated is always try and learn something new, try and work in different departments to get experience, and try and learn from people around you. And you know what? It's really important to try and get a mentor as well. Whether that mentor be like, for example, me online, or someone in your hotel, or your manager in a hotel. Try and always have a mentor. Yeah.
So there is the next one. What are the opportunities of culinary internship in Australia, especially during pandemic, as I have recently lost my job?
During the COVID pandemic, there's not a lot of opportunity at the moment, because every hotel's just trying to stay afloat, so to speak. But in hotels in Australia, there's always lots of opportunities in food and beverage, various levels of food and beverage in the banqueting and meeting and events department. There's a lot of opportunities in the big brands, the big brand hotels. We have all the big brands in Australia. We have a lot of little tropical islands off the coast, so we have a lot of resorts in Queensland. They also offer a lot of experience as well. One of the other questions was, which department would you suggest to start in as a career? I think every department's just as important. I started in food and beverage. Some people start on the front desk. It doesn't matter where you start, just make sure that you don't get stuck in that department. Right? So what I'm saying is that, like, there's nothing wrong in starting in a department, but learn as much as you can learn. And then if you want to grow, move into another department. So in food and beverage, I started in in-room dining. I went to stewarding, minibar, restaurant, buffets, a la carte. Then I did front desk, PABX, reception, concierge, housekeeping. All right, so always try to move around when you feel you're becoming flat and you feel you're ready to move, and try and move around when you feel you've learned as much as you can. You've got to remember, the more you move around, the more experience you gain. The more experience you have, the more doors will open, the more opportunity you get. One of the other questions was, what are the opportunities of current culinary internships in Australia?
It's already done, sir.
Yeah, big brands. But I think once the virus starts to sort of plateau out a little bit, I think there's lots of culinary opportunities. Hotels, big restaurants in Australia are always looking for people from overseas.
So anyone willing to ask the question, then they can raise their hand or they can unmute themselves and ask the questions.
Okay, it's me, Avijit Adhikari from Kathmandu. Currently, I'm a student of NATM, 5th semesters, and I am doing research on gastronomy about Nepalese cuisine. So, as you are experienced for more than 3 decades as being a general manager of Park Regis Hotel of Australia, how could you suggest me to build Nepalese cuisine or Nepalese gastronomy in the world hotel industry? It's my questions for you, sir.
Interesting question. So Nepalese cuisine, we have quite a few restaurants in Australia that do specialize in Nepalese cuisine. It is something that in hotels, it is a bit of an emerging market. In hotels at the moment, the trend in food and beverage is what they call paddock plate. It's not processed food, it's free-range chickens and free-range beef and wild seafood and things like that. There is definitely a place for Nepalese cuisine, but again, you need to look at the big brand experience, the big brand chains, because they do often ask for chefs that are specialized in Nepalese or Indian cuisine or Thai, for example. There's definitely a market there for them. Again, it's in the big brands.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Avijit. There is one question from Bangladesh, Ryan. So he would like to have some queries with you. You can ask. Are you getting me, Ryan?
Right, yeah, Ryan, there you are.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Ryan Ahmed, the studying professional, sir.
Hi, Ryan. Hi.
Hope you are fine. Sir, please advise me. As a studying professional, I'm working with Lamed in Dhaka, studying professional. Actually, sir, I want to know from your side, as a GMs, you are working, what is your expectation from us, from our studying sides? Any changes or any improvements from our side?
So stewarding is probably the most important department in food. It's very, very important. I think stewarding is going through a lot of changes at the moment, particularly with all the new hygiene and sanitation measures. Really, really important to make sure dish machines, drying times are all at the correct temperatures, to make sure that there is the correct dilution of chemical in the machines, to make sure that all the protective equipment, what we call PPE, is available for all staff to use. And there's a lot of new cleaning measures now in food and beverage, which we now need to look at. And hotels are changing, they're still changing because of COVID-19. And stewarding will, in the future, and continue to play a very important role because it's sort of the front line to all the change that's happening within the food and beverage department. And there's so many things that stewarding has to look out for. Food and beverage, it's always hard to make a dollar. It's always hard to make food and beverage in hotels because people in rooms think that the rooms are more important in a hotel. People in food and beverage think the food and beverage is more important. So, but yeah, there'll be a lot of change in the future and a lot of pressure, a lot of requirements for stewarding. But, you know, stewarding people are very tough. They're very dedicated. They're very proud of what they do. And, you know, they always maintain an extremely high standard in a big hotel.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
There is a question from Sandeep. He's asking that as we can see lots of millions traveling these days and like to get the service, which is quick and efficient. On the other hand side, technology is rapidly growing in the hospitality industry. Will this trend threats the employees to lose their job in future?
Are you talking about millennial travelers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So millennial travelers in hotels are a new market, and that's why hotels are adapting. So you find now with travelers in hotels, they want stuff that's quick, fast, they want digital, they want high band Wi-Fi, high speed internet. Everything has to be at the touch of a button and instant, very trendy, very funky. So I think there is opportunity for staff in all departments to get jobs and to retain jobs. But you have to be able to adapt and change within yourself. Like, the only reason why I'm a GM now in 2020 is because over the last 20 odd years, I have constantly been able to learn, adapt, and mold myself to the industry I'm in. Because 20 years ago, if I didn't mold and change myself, I wouldn't be in this job now. So, and I think that applies for everybody in all positions. We always need to be learning. We should always be trying to mold and adapt and update ourselves. And that always keeps us fresh. And I think it will always keep us in a job. And at this time in COVID-19, it's really important. Everybody, we're all learning new hygiene measures. We're all learning new sanitation measures. So many things in hotels now are changing, and we're all constantly learning to make sure that we stay up to date and we stay in jobs. So I think there's opportunity for everyone. I think no one can be left behind, but it comes down to the individual.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
No problem.
So in the meanwhile, I'm just sending the attendance record. So everyone can fill up the attendance record except Mr. Anthony, sir, so that everyone will be getting the certificate of participation with his signature. So everyone can do their attendance. So I guess we'll be wrapping up soon. So if there is anyone who would like to ask something, so they can unmute themselves or raise their hand or put their question on the chat box. I guess there is no more queries. Everyone has get their level of queries satisfied, I guess, for today's webinar on the topic of international chain hotels. So
there is something that just come up on the chat box which says, is it Anisha?
Yeah, Anisha, you're right.
Anisha. So if you can just make sure that Anisha gets my email address, because she sent me a private question, so I'm happy to respond to that privately because they've asked privately. But another question they've asked is, what should Nepal do to make the development in hospitality like Australia? I just think you need more, I think you need more structure in Nepal in terms of hospitality and training colleges, and it needs to be more set up and established. You know, there's a lot of people who want to come and work in Nepal. I'd be more than happy to come over to Nepal and spend some time over there. I'd be more than happy to come and lecture and to help in any way that I can long term. So I'm more than happy to look at anything. And Anisha, you've sent me a private comment which I can see. So if you just get my email address of Rabin, I'm happy to answer you privately and discuss that in the problems.
So thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Anissa. I guess there is next question too. Alisa Stress, she is from Balkumari College. May not be true at all, but mostly I have seen people succeeding their position in GM who has been involved in F&B before more than any other departments. People working in other departments mostly limits in achieving executive position in their concerned department. So what's so new, or what the thing that F&B has offered?
That's true in what Elise is saying. A lot of people, we call it pigeonhole. You get pigeonholed. A lot of people, they go so far and then they get pigeonholed and they just get stuck in that one position. So I think to make sure you don't get stuck, you always need to make sure that you look at all the opportunities as they come and you try and apply for those opportunities. And if you don't get those opportunities, you should be asking your GM or your HR department, what do I need to do to get that job? Like if you don't get an opportunity, ask someone, what is it that I need to do to break through to the next level? Yes, it is true. A lot of GMs do come from food and beverage. But in Australia, I do know there are a lot of GMs. In Australia, we have a lot of GMs that come from rooms and the housekeeping department as well. But some countries, they do have a lot of F&B. F&B is very strong to work in because F&B continues to get bigger and bigger in hotels. So it's getting more and more important, so there is more opportunities. But, I think rooms or F&B is fine. But, you know, for your own career development, just make sure you don't get stuck in your position for too long. Apply for things, look at trying to grow and do courses to get you to that next step. And if you don't get that opportunity, then go back and ask that person why and what can you do to prepare you for the next one that comes along.
Yeah. So before we wrap up our second session, if anybody at last want to have some queries, then they can put their mic on and ask the question if anybody wants. So if not, then is there any possibilities for a fresher guy in Australia?
What do you mean by a fresher guy? I don't understand that, sorry.
I guess he mean to say like a guy who is like just starting his career.
Like an apprentice. In Australia, we call that an apprentice. So all hotels do offer apprenticeships and traineeships where they do take on people every year who are just starting out in the industry. A lot of times they come from high school. We also have training and hospitality colleges that people do apprenticeships with hotels as well. And a lot of times they do have links with training and hospitality colleges overseas. And some hotel groups do even sponsor people to come overseas, from overseas to come to Australia and do an apprenticeship as well. In hotel management, in basically all of the departments, food and beverage, stewarding, housekeeping, everything.
Thank you, amigo Mukherjee. So if there is no any queries left, then let's wrap up the second session. Uh, I just see Krishna Nepal, sir, who was one of our speaker on the 6th webinar. He is the sales advisor of Jumeirah Group Dubai. So Krishna Nepal, sir, you are welcome in this webinar. Do you like to put some words to our participants, sir?
Sorry, was that to me?
Rabin,
No, it's
thank you very much for your.
we have a guest.
Thank
Okay.
you very much. Thank you very much. I just got to join, and it's okay. I do not have any question. I'm very happy to see you all of you
Krishna, sir,
guys.
we are not hearing you, I guess.
Thank you very much for welcoming, and I'm very happy to hear and happy to
Krishna,
see you again here.
Yes, Krishna, very nice to see you, and thank you for joining.
Thank you. It's great.
So at the end of the second session, so I don't know how do you feel, sir. So do you like? I would like to request to put the few concluding words for today's webinar. How do you feel, and some suggestion for us?
So I think just in wrapping up, look, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's definitely been, I've really enjoyed this time. I think long term, I'm happy to stay in contact with those of you that want to stay in contact. I'm happy to mentor and help anyone that wants to stay in touch. I'm happy for Rabin to give my email address to anybody.
Yes, sir.
And look, I'm certainly open to coming to Nepal. Would love to meet a lot of you and help the industry in Nepal in any way that I can. I suppose the big things, if you have to take a couple of things to remember from this, I would have to say, for your own personal growth, always try to adapt, always learn, and always prepare yourself for future opportunities. Always have a mentor. Make sure you never get stale in what you're doing. Always look after the staff around you, no matter what department you work in. Always remember how you would like to be treated, and always remember those lessons that you learned, because later on, when you get to be the head of your department or a GM or a managing director, remember that you impact and you affect so many people's lives, and you should do it in a very positive manner. You guys, you're starting out, a lot of you are starting out in the industry, and you have so much opportunity to make a big positive difference. And it's a very exciting time. The whole world is in a bit of stalemate at the moment due to COVID, but every country is gradually coming out of COVID. And trust me, as hotels come back and they start to open and grow again, opportunities will return all over the world. And look at those big brands. You know, keep strong contacts that you have, if you have mentors or myself, and use them for advice and guidance and support. And, you know, they will help you to open up other opportunities as well.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess we have a last queries. Do you mind taking last queries?
Sure.
We have a colleague from Balkumari College, Nisa Paudel. She can unmute herself and ask question.
Sure.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
It's probably afternoon here, but I guess it's evening there. So I'd like to wish you again a good evening. So I hope you're having a good time. And I'm pretty late today to ask you a question because I was, multitasking and doing here and there things. So I've got a quick question to ask. So since this webinar is about to over, I was just happy with the questions that those were being asked. I was just concerned and happy that all the questions that I wanted to ask were already being asked. So at last, I felt like I should go on for the last one. I hope I did not disturb the wrapping up time this session. So I got a quick question. So shall I, sir?
Sure.
All right, sir. Since I am. First of all, I need to. I forget to address myself. So I'm a student from Balkumari College, the same college that we are representing in this webinar. So,
Yes.
and I am currently studying in third semester. Thinking of. And so ever since I've joined hotel management, I have also, the thought of doing something in hotel industry. It's the luxury, as we all know it. So, and since after maybe a year later, we as you told us, the experience matters to be a perfect general manager and to be a perfect staff. So I'd like to ask you a recommendation that since it's all about experiencing, traveling, and we all know that travel and hotel industry is quite related. It's like the same wheel of a cart or maybe something else, but still, so I'd like to ask you that where should we try out our career for becoming successful in life, to be something like you, sir, and to achieve and to have a name and to achieve that with no regrets. So where else we can try out? Shall we go for Australia, or where else we can think of doing trainings and learning new things?
I think after the virus, once the virus finishes, I think Australia is a very, very good opportunity. Australia looks after staff very well. Australia pays a very high rate of wage to people. Australia has good education and healthcare. There's a lot of opportunity in Australia. I would also advise Europe, if you can go to a lot of countries in Europe, because 5-star.
From where else we can begin with, sir? Ever since I'm very interested to put GM in my name, sir.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, look, I think you need, no matter where you go in the world, you need to look at the brand. You need to look at big brands. Big brands will open big opportunities, right?
Yes,
and you need to look at countries like Australia, the UK, France, Switzerland, a lot of countries in Northern Europe, where the standard of hospitality and the standard of hotel service is very, very high.
And I have heard, even now, I've heard that, as you said it, that Australia is providing good wages, good training, good facilities. We all know that Australia is a huge country. There is plenty of places to very, very developed hotel industry. So what if we think of visiting Australia and starting a career of training from anything? Then what else? What we can do it? How we can pursue it?
Okay, so you can look at traineeships through hospitality colleges. We have hospitality colleges in Australia that also do international students in India, Nepal, parts of Asia. Some hospitality colleges overseas are represented in Australia. Mm-hmm. A lot of the big brands like Hilton, Hyatt, Accor, Radisson, Sheraton, Shangri-La, they do have worldwide training programs where you can get placement in overseas hotels as well. So look at the big brands and what they offer overseas. Look at the international hotel schools in Australia. We have one in particular called the Blue Mountain Hotel College. They take a lot of international students. We have a lot of international hotel colleges in Australia where people from overseas like Nepal come and they study and they do placement, and then they wind up working in Australia as well. So it's just about doing those searches online. And I mean, if you get my email address from Rabin, I'm happy to work with you on that later on if you want, for sure.
All right, sir. Sure, sir. That would be my pleasure. And what about particularly the hotel you are in? So what kind of facilities does your hotel contribute to, in the development of youths like us who really want to do their training, visit the country, and and add some experience in their CV?
So we have apprenticeships in all our hotels. We have 11 hotels in Australia. We have a lot of hotels overseas, and they all do apprenticeship programs as well. To be honest, now the housekeeping department here in my hotel is all Nepalese. They're all wonderful people. They've all been here for longer than 5 years. They never leave because they're just the best people to have in my hotel. But yeah, all chains offer experience and opportunities overseas. You just need to look online and do some research in the big hotel brands and the international training colleges in Australia. And you can pick up apprenticeships and internships with them. Yeah, and I'm happy to help you in any way I can or to give you some information.
Thank you very much, sir. And a very last one, sir. How it feels to be a man, a general manager of a hotel, and how it feels like to be, you know, traveling all around the world, knowing different things. And at the time, you're carrying all those experiences and knowing most of the thing. And what you'd like to say that I should never do some things that I should avoid, or maybe something that I should always go for it. Actually, we should always go for it, and what else we have to avoid while building up ourselves.
You need to believe in yourself. You need to always maintain a high level of honesty and integrity.
Yeah.
You should always treat other people the way you wish to be treated. You never ever talk down to a staff member or abuse a staff member, because they are your most important asset. I think in my job as a GM, every day there are times when I get frustrated, annoyed. There are times when I'm happy. There are times when I'm under pressure to meet the deadline. But it's all about juggling and balancing everything. You know, every week I have opportunities where I feel really proud and happy, like doing this now. I feel very humble that I'm so happy and so proud as to what I can do and what I can deliver. When I travel, I feel happy about how far I've come. So again, the only person that controls that is you. So with me, it's about always making sure that I'm happy and I feel fresh, and I always find the time to do everything that needs to be done.
All right, sir, that was really appreciable answers from the beginning, and thank you, sir. I really appreciate those words. And it's like maybe the 10th or 11th webinar, and I've been getting many ideas to how to get better, how to be more good at this. So I hope to have any conversation like this in these webinars as well. So I wish you a very good day, and thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'm happy to stay in touch with you. And
all right, sir. Me too. That would be my greatest pleasure. So I could know things and transfer to my friends. So, you know, sir, we have really limited choices. This is really, you know, Nepal is a small country. We have to grab the choices or the options that we get. We don't have any options to, you know, guess whether should I go or not. So we have very limited assets. So for the citizen of this country, for being and for a student of the country of this college, and we have to always stay concerned that where should I go for it. Once I went it, then there isn't any backing off. So I'm really worried that where should I step in. That's why I've been asking too many questions, but that's my query, sir, and I feel really thankful that I got my answers.
Well, I think staying with big brands is very safe as well, because often you hear about horror stories of people going overseas where things go wrong, and you don't want that to happen. So big brands will obviously give you a certain amount of safety as well in terms of you being looked after properly and treated well as an employee. But look, Anisha, happy to stay in contact with you, and I can already see that you're going to be a fantastic general manager in the future. I can see that already. So I'm going to keep my eye on you, I think, for sure.
Thank you so much, Nisha. So at the end, before concluding, I would like to request our housekeeping instructor of our college, Mr. Sriram sir, to put his few words about today's webinar. And before it, I would like to again add the attendance record so that everyone can do it and receive their certificates.
Um, Rabin, would you suggest all of them to open the camera?
Yes, sir. I had requested you to put your some words about today's webinar.
Um, Actually, this is the first time we are having the international conference with the dignified person who has been working in hospitality sector since a long time. And most of the question which has been raised in this program is genuinely relevant to the student career, relating to the today's scenario, recent scenarios, and the solution which Anthony sir has given is a really commendable, and hope we can have this kind of a privilege in the future also. And on the behalf of BHM department, BHM faculty, I would like to say thank you, a big capital thank you to Anthony sir, that you have provided your precious time for all of. Thank you very, very much, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram sir. So at the end, sir, we always take a memory photograph. So I would like to request everyone to turn on their video and do namaste. So namaste is our greeting, like you do hello or handshake. So in Nepal, we do namaste like this. So I would like to request everyone to open their video, and I would like to request Sriram sir to take the photo.
Sure, sure. So few participants are not opening their camera, so I would like to request, heartily request to all of them. So we'll can frame all this particular event for the future. Okay, it's okay, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. So before we already wrapped up, I would like to notify one thing more. Tomorrow also we will be having our webinar. So tomorrow we'll be having a speaker from KGH Hotel. I think everyone knows it. Kathmandu Guest House Group of Resorts and Hotels. The CEO of KGH Group will be there for tomorrow as a speaker. So I would like to request in the same time at 12 o'clock of Nepali time to all the participants to be there. And tomorrow also we'll be learning about the Nepali hotel industry. Like KGH is one of the pioneer of Nepali hotel industry. So the CEO of KGH Group will be sharing his experience. So again, at last, on the behalf of Balkumari College, on the behalf of every students, on the behalf of every participants, I would like to thank heartily to Mr. Anthony sir for his precious time, for his precious experience, for his precious suggestions to every one of us. I hope lots of people will be coming out as a GM in the future by your suggestions and by your experience level. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Please stay in touch. Bye-bye.
Yeah. So, कसैले attendance गर्न छुट्नु भएको छ भने you can do your attendance.
भोलि नि 12 बजे हो रबिन
12 बजे हो भोलिको
आज ढिलो भयो आउनु
भएन आज 60 जना जति भएको थियो भन्न टेन्सन भएको थियो रबिन सरले मलाई मान्छे हुँदैन गर्न पर्दैन भनेर कस्तो गरिरहनु भएको थियो
हैन गर्नु त पर्छ के नेपालको मात्र भन्दा इन्टरनेसनली पनि इन्टरेक्ट गर्न पाए भने त अलि हामीलाई पनि नलेज हुन्छ नि त नलेज गेन गर्न सक्छौं
पनि राम्रै मान्छे हुनुहुन्छ राजन साख्य
भोलि कति 12 बजे नै हो भोलि पनि
हजुर
धन्यवाद तिमीलाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद राम्रो राम्रो
सुन्नु न रबिन जी
हजुर
म न्याथमबाट हो है अनि मलाई पनि लिङ्कहरु पठाइदिनुहोस् हैन तपाईको यसमा वेबिनारतिर म पनि एड हुँ भनेर
ए हस् हुन्छ भोलिको नाथममा मैले साथीहरुलाई भन्न त भनेको थिए यो लिंक कहाँबाट पाउनु भएको हो
यो पनि एउटा साथीबाटै भएको हो, साथीले भने तर ऊ चाहिँ आएन छ।
नाम के हो?
निहारिका।
ल ठिक छ मेरो नाम रबिन बस्नेत नै छ।
हजुर।
लिङ्क चाहिँ म दिउँसो कि बेलुकाखेरि पोस्ट गर्छु।
ओके, केमा पोस्ट गर्नुहुन्छ यो फेसबुक पेजतिर?
फेसबुकमै पोस्ट गर्छु। तपाईँ ट्यु बिएचएममा हुनुहुन्छ त्यो ग्रुपमा?
आई थिङ्क छु होला सायद।
त्यहाँ पनि हुन्छ।
ओके।
I think I missed the question from Amigo sir. So, was there anything?
I guess his answer is already ready.
Is it done already? Hello, sir.
Already done. Bye bye everyone. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow.